Hey guys, we're back with another mod, but let me forewarn you, there's going to be a bunch of flashing going on for the next couple of seconds. So if you don't want to see the flashing, make sure you fast forward to about 2 minutes, and then everything will somewhat go away. The reason behind the video is I saw a lot of the bikes that are up to date doing Probeam lights, and I didn't see that flat style housing. So I figure I'll go out and for the old guy with the old bikes, we'll give you an idea as to how to put the lights in and the tasks you got to go through to get them installed. But I like the lights. They give it a up-to-date look and kind of refines the old lights, the Genesis brand. So I'm going from the Genesis 2 to the Probeam, and they seem to look rather well. Now right off the bat, we're going to go ahead and show you little clips of taking out the old, the left and the right, and turn signals from the rear. It's just fairly easy, so it shouldn't be very difficult if you decide to do it yourself. Now we're taking off that tail light. I feel for a comparison, this is what the front of the bike looked like with the Genesis lights. And that way you can go back and forth throughout the video and see the Probeam versus the Genesis lights. Just as we did in the rear of the bike, we're doing the same thing in the front, removing those tail lights from the front of the bike. Out with the old and in with the new. I kind of like these lights in a sense. They give a good sharpening of technology, or better yet, the way technology. Right off the bat, we have the Ziploc bag, which contains an O-ring to go around the back of the lens, and then it also includes 2 little O-rings to go behind the screws. I'm assuming that these go around for weatherproofing. It'll keep some water out, as well as a tightening effect, so you can't necessarily tighten it all the way down. It kind of gives you a little barrier in there to wedge it. within the instructions it said to not press them in, but what I found was that if I did not press them in, they wouldn't stay within. And when I try to put the lens on the face of the tail light, it wouldn't stay in. So what I did was use some of the needle nose as I just showed you, and I kind of curled them a little bit so that it would give me a little more. Now with the tail light, in the same package you have two little flat washers in there, not necessarily O-rings like the other ones, and these go in there so somewhat to give you that little barrier in there to make sure it stays tight, as well as so you don't crush the tail light. One thing I like about my bike is I kind of like the idea of the lights. Everybody's putting those day makers on the front. I kind of like that old look, and I find it funny, like at the rear of the bike, this light is on here now. Kind of like that theme of the old light, but this definitely goes away from that idea. Now this rubber seal I've already replaced on the I've already placed on the back, and just want to give you an assumption what it looks like. This comes from the old light. Obviously you peel it back and then you place it onto the back of the tail light and then press it on, and it gives it somewhat of a water barrier so it doesn't get, I guess I'm assuming a lot of water in it, but there's something that's going to get in there. Next I'm going to grab some dielectric grease to make sure those electric connections are held true. And just put a little dab in there, not excessive amount, just a little dab to go over it, and then just press it down in the holes. And here's a glimpse of the rear end of the bike. Next we're moving on to the front portion of the bike. Once again, we have those baggies with the O-rings in them. You have the O-ring to go around the lens and two O-rings to go around the screws. Within the package, they gave you these smoke lenses, which I'm going to discard and use the clear ones. Once again, we pull out that dielectric grease to put a little dab on both of those. Within this part, don't forget to go back and use those needle nose pliers if you need them to secure it within the housing. You know, when you watch some other videos, you always wonder if people run into problems, and it just lets you know the struggle is real. I couldn't just put it in with my hands. I needed a little extra turning power on this one, so I had to go back and get those trusty needle nose pliers, and they made the job much easier. Remember, don't forget to go back and get those needle nose pliers to turn it a little bit so they fit in that housing. And here's the finished product with the lights coming on. Bang! Looks pretty good to me. And it seems as though all the white looks the same. It's not a variation of each. They all look legitimately white and solid. Same color scheme. This is a mod I've done a while back. I just was putting the little visors back on the lights. I have visors on just about all the lights on the bike, on the back, the front, the headlight, and the auxiliary lights. And what I found is a good method of putting them on is I start with one side, set it kind of in that crease where you put that O-ring behind the lens, and then pull it in the other direction and it'll somewhat snap on. And then there's a crease at the bottom. Since these lights go vertically with the screws, I line that bottom piece up so it seems the center of the screw, and then just make sure, feel around and see if it's seated itself within that groove. Once you get finished, this is the finished product.